U.S. Justice Department says it will defend religious schools' exemption from anti-LGBT discrimination laws. So, in a recent court filing in the case of Hunter versus the U.S. Department of Education, the Justice Department said it would, quote, vigorously defend religious freedom of federally funded religious schools to discriminate against LGBTQ students. LGBT advocates were outraged by the filing. They want the government to agree that it's unconstitutional for federally funded schools to discriminate against LGBT people and that the religious exemption isn't defensible. To others, including advocates of President Biden, the administration had no other option since the federal civil rights law concerning education, called Title IX, excuses religion. On June 9th, the Justice Department revised the document, removing the word vigorously to explain its defense of the religious exemption and retained multiple uses of the word adequate. Slate legal writer Mark Joseph Stern said that the Justice Department tried to prevent a Christian organization from mounting extreme arguments. Despite the change in wording, the legal matters at the crux of the lawsuit remain the same. So I want to provide a little background here. So a few months ago, this class action lawsuit was filed against the U.S. Department of Education. This class action lawsuit is from about 40 LGBT people who were students at religious schools. And these religious schools received federal funding. And they are suing the Department of Education because they are saying these schools shouldn't receive federal funding while they are actively and institutionalizing discrimination against me as a student participating, who enrolled there. So because it's the U.S. Department of Education, it's the Justice Department that is going to be the defense, right? And so there was a council of Christian universities. Many of these council members are the schools who are involved in these lawsuits or had students who are represented in this lawsuit. They filed a petition where they asked to be included as, I think, a necessary party in this case. And because they said that they believed that the Biden administration would be or influence this and be biased against them and their interests in this case. So in response to that filing, the Justice Department has said that they are going to vigorously defend this. So that's why there is this legal writer who's saying that the Justice Department did this to try to prevent the Christian organization from being able to come into this case and mount even more extreme arguments. So that's one way of looking at this.
But what arguments did they make to defend it? Because my understanding, if you correct me if I'm wrong about this, is that this wasn't as big of a win for these groups as people think for the religious schools, because it didn't set a precedent. And it was unique to the situation. And they could have lost this in a way, like our side could have lost this in a way that it would have set the precedent for religious schools. And actually, this was technically a win in disguise because it could have been a lot worse. But I don't know what line of reasoning did they use that made it so that it doesn't set a precedent. Like they gave it to the religious schools on a technicality. I don't know the details, but do you know?
So I think what you're getting at is like this case hasn't begun yet. These are all the court filings that happen preceding this being heard, right? So what's happening before this case really beginning is that these Christian schools are actually trying to get involved with the legal proceedings representing themselves and their interests, right? And so in that case, the Justice Department said, no, you're not going to do that because we're going to defend your interests.
Wait,
So
I think this was...
I just lost what I was going to say.
No, but so what's the reasoning? So is the reasoning that they have to defend these schools just so that the religious so that these other institutions don't get involved and make it even worse, basically?
No,
So,
there's a statutory exemption in federal education amendment called Title IX, which provides a lot of things like education for girls, anti-discrimination on the basis of sex. But what this particular amendment, Title IX of this education amendment, it specifically has a statutory written into the law exemption for religious, a religious exemption rather, that's written into the law. So the government is required on some level to defend the law rather than the schools themselves. So that's
Exactly
what they're doing, is they're defending the Title IX 1972 Education Amendment and the provision within that law that religious people get special treatment. They get an exemption, they get a pass. But
okay.
I want to take it further back and say, why are religious schools getting any federal funds at all? Is my,
you
know, if these people aren't paying taxes, why are they get our money? But that's a different argument.
Yeah, and I mean, or we could take it back to the case of if this discrimination occurred under any other context, it would be unacceptable before the law and before the courts. This is only acceptable because it is religious. So it's inherently discriminatory because it is privileging those beliefs over any others.
Nobody else gets to be discriminatory except for the religious people. They get special treatment. And the way you avoid this, if you want religious people to be allowed to discriminate based on their religion, is that you don't give them federal funds. And then that solves that problem.
Okay, but this is according, like, they're not doing it, like a lot of people are saying this is unconstitutional, but no, it's not unconstitutional. This is completely, like, these exemptions exist within the Constitution of the United States, no?
Exist within the statutory framework of the law itself. The amendment.
Okay, so
title.
Okay, so it's not unconstitutional.
No, it's within the law. These people are within their rights under the law to claim an exemption because this exemption was built into the law itself.
Yeah, so you can be like people can be like, oh, this is illegal, why are they doing this? No, unfortunately, this is legal. You can't, like, some people are blaming Joe Biden and saying, like, here, like, look at this. I think some people are saying, where is this? Oh, this doesn't surprise me. Biden is a devout Christian, more devout than Trump.
This is beyond Biden. He doesn't have much of a say in this.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna basically say right now. Like, this has nothing to do with Biden, and I don't think Biden's Christianity is influencing a lot of his positions that much at all. And this is what you expect if the U.S. government was following the law. So you can't complain about what the U.S. government is doing. What you have to complain about is the law. Okay,
exactly.
You need to change the law. Yeah.
And these are people who don't A, understand what the law says, or B, the fact that there's a separation of powers. The whole thing that people were upset about under a lot of the Trump administration stuff is that the president was using his position, to pressure the Justice Department to do or not do certain things. The Justice Department should be separate and independent from the executive in the sense that they are beholden to the law, not to the person. So Biden himself, but also Armin's point is exact. If you have a problem with this, and the exemption, the religious exemption is the problem, then the fight is to change the amendment in Title IX that statutorily gives this religious exemption.
Which is exactly what this case is crafted to challenge.
Okay. And so the comment I said originally, I think it was about something that happened this month that was similar, that I was confusing with this news because it was so similar. So we have another news about religious freedom advocates celebrated after the Supreme Court on Thursday sided with the Catholic group that rejects same-sex couples as foster parents.
We're going to
So-
talk about that next week because
Yes, but that was
happened
that was
when I was
this
preparing
is
this news.
this was like it's so similar to that, and we were talking about the constitutions and stuff. So like the commentary I have, like, was about a technicality that ended up being a loss for religious group, even though it looked like a win. That's what I was commenting on because it was just so similar to this. So that was in this. So
And also, like that one, and we'll talk about it next week, but also these things are decided on a very, very narrow thing that they're looking at. That's it. They're not decided on the big overarching idea of whether people should be allowed to have a religious exemption or not. Or is this a good law? Or was this good that this was built? No, they're simply defending the law, the Justice Department, as it was written. And this is one narrow thing that, according to the law, these schools are within their right to do this very narrow thing.
Yeah. And Armin, I understand why I got them confused. They're both involving should you be able to receive federal funding if you're discriminating on the basis of religion, just in different contexts. So I understand the confusion.
One of them was the like Supreme Court. This other one is the Justice Department. So, but that's why they're very different. But it's very interesting. Okay, cool. Do you want to highlight any comments or say anything else before I bring up the next news?
Rivka?
I just want to, I don't know whose comment it was that said we're the best team.
Yes, I highlighted it.
Girl power. It was blank name. Thank you, blank name.
All right.
And people are fighting over me.
Yeah. We're getting Christian trolls also in the live chat. Did you guys see? Like we're getting.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Welcome.
We get like usually get the
Hey.
Hindutzvah flavor, the Islamic flavor. We don't get that much Christian, and it's very hateful too. So we don't like we miss the Christian love, which is
the love
so
they
hateful.
show.
It tastes
They're
like
showing that love.
Yes,
Showing that love.
Showing the Christian love, which is more ugly than most people's hate.
Anyways, flavor on a nice Sunday morning.
Yes, exactly. I miss the Christian.
Hey guys, if you're a fan of Blasphemy and Sexy Callie, like me, then you need to be sure to subscribe to our newsletter, link in the description below. Because if you subscribe, we will send you a free copy of our Blasphemous Art ebook. And let me tell you, it is the tastiest blasphemy that you can find anywhere available today. And we are so generous with our blasphemy that we continue to send you more blasphemy every week. So make sure to subscribe, link in the description below.